All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started here with the disqualification show in just a moment. Let's get everything set up here in the meantime. All right. Yes, indeed. Plenty going on. Plenty to talk about. Kevin Harvick, unofficially your winner for the first time this season. We're going to post this in the thread here in the meantime so people can check that out. We're still figuring out everything in the setup here. We got a different camera here this week. I hope it still comes through well enough here with the sound and everything. We're just trying something a little different again this week, and then we're going to get everything also set up there. Fantastic, different set of circumstances here. Kevin Harvick, unofficially your winner of today's race, the Foxwoods 301 up at New Hampshire. Had a pretty crazy weekend, very hot weekend, but plenty of things to be talking about from there. Big kudos to Matt DiBenedetto, who now has 2 top 5 finishes in his career after a top 5 earlier this year at the Sonoma Raceway. He now has an excellent finish there, 5th place unofficially to follow up his top 5 back at Sonoma. But Harvick, certainly the man of the hour there with a spirited battle with Denny Hamlin towards the finish, and a crazy set of circumstances there. We'll get into all of that as well. And of course, we'll talk about the last place finishers in the race. Trying something a little different in the background as opposed to the live race I have put in the background here. This is the 1993 inaugural race. It's New Hampshire back in 1993, the Slick 50 300. We're going to put that in the background, just kind of experiment with some stuff back there, and we'll get that going here as well. So where to begin? Well, let's talk about Daniel Hemric, who now unofficially has the very first last place finish of his Cup Series career, and actually his first last place finish across all 3 of NASCAR's top series. Hadn't finished last in the Xfinity Series and never finished last in the Truck Series as well. So a very rare set of circumstances there at the back of the field. Hemric unofficially listed out by accident. The thing that was interesting to me about that was that, much like Daniel Suarez's incident at Daytona just a couple weeks ago, we had a situation where a driver didn't seem to get a whole lot of damage from the incident he was in, where he banged doors with Suarez in the corners there. Regardless, he's listed as out of the race. They basically looked under the hood of the car and pushed him behind the wall. An unusual set of circumstances there. But unofficially, the number 8 gets back in the last place for the first time since 2007. Dale Jr. Scored his final last place finish for DEI team at Phoenix that year in November. Hemric, now your last place finisher unofficially. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with a hard hit into the outside wall ends up finishing 36th. Austin Theriault 35th in his Cup Series debut. Driving for Rick Ware Racing, David Reagan spent an extended stay behind pit wall, came back out late, finished multiple laps down to 34th, and Kyle Larson rounding out the bottom 5 unofficially after a miserable afternoon there in the McDonald's car, hitting the wall, getting into a backup car, and then multiple accidents there. And so now, as NASCAR Man pointed out, more than 25 years later, the McDonald's car still hasn't won a Cup Series race since Jimmy Spencer back in '94. Not that they haven't won it, period. Plenty to cover from all that. The Daniel Hemric stories ended up being kind of interesting because we looked like up until that point we're going to have another pretty competitive battle for the back of the field. We actually had some actual honest-to-goodness racing for these positions in the back. I'm going to go through my notes here again and review what the exchange was there for the field there at the back. Let's take a look. We had originally Alex Bowman getting sent to the back of the field, of course, after having another difficult weekend. We had who would think that at New Hampshire, of all places, was going to be the first race really in quite a while where we've seen a lot of backup cars. You think about the Daytona 500, you think about other races from there, but a very different set of circumstances this time around. Alex Bowman destroying the transmission tunnel there when the drive shaft came out the bottom of the car, getting into a backup car that then wrecked on Saturday morning, getting into another backup that was going to start 37th and last in the field without a qualifying lap, a redundant tail end penalty for getting sent to the backup car. But didn't spend much time back there. As I was pointing out on Twitter, much like in a lot of these other races we've seen, you actually get a lot of drivers that get sent to the back of the field voluntarily. A lot of these small teams that are going to be outclassed there, at least in the early laps. Perhaps a situation to avoid getting run over by any of these faster cars, or it's just drivers or team's choice. We're seeing this on a week-to-week basis, but this was even more pronounced this time with so many of the big teams sent to backups. They'd originally be sent to the back, and then we had a whole other group, basically everybody from 32nd through 36th on the starting lineup. Ross Chastain, Reed Sorensen, Quinn Houff, Andy Sois, and Austin Terrio also rounding out the field there. All of them getting dropped to the back of the field, rounding out the group there. That was really the setup at the back of the field. And Chastain was actually your last place starter. So when the field actually rolled off, he was the one in the last spot at the time. Really interesting set of circumstances from that. After that, we had a bit of a good battle there from the rest of the field. Chastain actually forced a 3-wide battle. And the last place battle, looking at the race view there, showed a tight situation there off of turn 2, where you had Chastain along with Terrio and Houff there coming off the corner, and ends up being shuffling the field in the back there. And on 2 occasions, Kyle Busch actually found himself right in the middle of the last place battle, when it was as close together as it was between 2 different competitors, basically right on top of each other. He had a pretty close deal at that point. In the end, you had, again, both the Dillon brothers had problems. We talk about Ty Dillon, both and Austin Dillon, both of them with tire issues. Tires end up being a big issue in the first part of the race. We had Ty Dillon having an unscheduled stop that dropped him into the middle of the last place battle. And then after that, you had Austin Dillon had a tire failure and hit the wall very hard in turn 4, dropped him further back. Quinn Houff and Austin Terrio traded the last place spot during pit stops after that. And then from there, the wheels quite literally fell off. The number 3 car had multiple stops for multiple tire failures, eventually came back in. The suspension parts were just bent. They had to go back into the garage area. Looked like they might be done and having a last place finish, much like they had at Pocono earlier this year. Didn't end up happening that way. Actually ended up being about 27 laps down and coming back out. Now, he came back out when we had the main incident that actually caused the race to actually conclude with the last place battle being what it was. This thing blacked out. I don't know why it did. What was going on with that? Oh, I guess we just got a gap here. Ooh, let's move that ahead. There we go. And so what we had was a really good battle there at the back again, like I said, because once Austin Dillon went behind the garage, behind the wall, we actually heard over the radio, at least from Dillon's spotter, about the incident between Chase Elliott and Daniel Suarez and Daniel Hemrick. This was kind of a difficult thing because it seemed like the broadcast wasn't really aware of what was happening, and they had to really kind of piece it together. And it wasn't until very late that they actually showed the water coming out from beneath the number 9 car right in front of where Hemrick and Suarez were. And even then, they cut off the replay pretty quickly, so you didn't get a full grasp of what was happening there. It didn't seem like Hemrick had that much damage to his car. They were looking under the hood. I have to, again, thank quite a few of the people that were sharing pictures from the New Hampshire weekend here and sharing those. We retweeted those during the weekend. Let me make sure I get the names correct here. So I want to quote all this properly. I guess Mike Dutton there providing the pictures from the Sunday race here, including some great shots on pit road from both Chase Elliott and Daniel Hemrick during their incident there. And Hemrick eventually, again, going behind the wall. You'll see these as well in the article that's going to be posted later tonight for Hemrick's last place finish. And also on the Saturday race, we got some additional great pictures there as well. And this is always, again, New Hampshire always seems to get a lot of good NASCAR fans up there that are following the back of the field. And you get some unusual drivers and names you may not see typically there. And so that ended up being a good story there as well. Let's see. Scrolling back here. Whoop, let's not go too far back. We'll get onto the Saturday group here. Gosh, where did that go? I know I have it here somewhere. Let me get that pulled up here. And we'll talk about the Xfinity race as well. Of course, that was a really close battle. But got to say, between these last couple of races here, the last place battles and the battles for the win have both been really good. So I've been really enjoying that, and I think that's where we're really going to be heading. Hopefully, things stay that competitive in the races coming up ahead. Pocono is definitely one where it's something that we've been looking at to see if the aero package is going to be pretty good there for what happens. But we get some mixed results from some of these races. But in recent weeks, maybe it's just the heat and the car is sliding around and not getting very good traction, even if it's a night race like Kentucky or a day race like we had in New Hampshire. But it's made for some fantastic stories, and that'll be definitely something to be watching coming up ahead. Let me see here. I'm looking up the article. We're getting the Xfinity article wrapped up here about Carl Long. And yes, it was Stephen Pollard III. Big thanks to him for his pictures he provided from the Xfinity race. And then again, Mike Dutton for the pictures provided from today's Cup Series race. Big thanks to both of them. We're going to have both of their pictures provided in the articles that you'll see this week. Stephen Pollard III is also the person that has the NASCAR numbers site. He says that domain's currently down at the moment, but it's going to be up pretty soon. So if you definitely want another bookmark to some obscure NASCAR statistics, definitely check out the NASCARnumbersite.org and look ahead to that going forward. So, so again, welcome aboard, everyone. Here we have 4 people in the chat right now. Welcome aboard, everyone, as we recover from the victory for car number 4, and we now wait for the results from technical inspection. And I will now check the timer here as to what we have. I started this more or less again about when the race concluded. Yes, we're about 28 minutes into the wait for inspection results. We don't have any word yet. Yes, but certainly some disappointment for Denny Hamlin, understandably, in spite of the fact that he won both the Daytona 500 and at Texas a bit later this year. He was very close to winning at New Hampshire yet again, as he's been very good there in the past. Was reeling in. Kevin Harvick led 113 laps in the unofficial results from here right now, and ends up coming up just short to Kevin Harvick, working him over there at the end. Harvick led 41 laps, which, as they pointed out during the broadcast, was pretty rare for Ford. Toyota seemed to be just making New Hampshire their own kind of playground. But again, very impressed with Matt DiBenedetto, as pointed out. This is a driver where it seems like when the weather is the most adverse, where the conditions are the most difficult, everybody knows about how well Matt DiBenedetto trains and how well he works out and what his regimen is and everything. A lot of similarities to Mark Martin in a way. He just seems to just rise to the occasion. Just what he did at Sears Point with the 4th place finish, the 5th place finish here, even his Bristol finish when he was 6th back with BK Racing. Difficult tracks, difficult circumstances, but getting up there and just getting it done. So we'll see if he can carry that into Pocono next week and some other races. Also very impressed with Ryan Newman. You have to talk about him from his continued trend this year. Newman has continued to just get the very best out of that 6 car there. They've really turned things around since last season and ended up finishing 7th after they had what looked like it was going to be a drop cylinder. Were able to get under the hood and make some adjustments there to get that car back to full song. Even before that, it seemed like they weren't losing that much speed. They were able to at least keep up with everybody that was out there. And ends up finishing even ahead of Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Brad Keselowski, who rounded out the top 10 unofficially. So great runs for them. Alex Bowman didn't quite get the top 10 finish that it seemed like he was going to get, but a 14th place finish after all that he'd endured, including, again, what we mentioned earlier about starting at the back of the field and the 2 different backup cars, running a backup Jimmy Johnson car. Still finishing in the 14th spot, a great run for him. Ended up finishing much better than Jimmy did. Jimmy with the problems under the hood, much like Chase Elliott, a slip belt there, ended up being in the 30th position there. And Chase Elliott in the towards the back there as well. Chase Elliott, the 29th spot. So, yeah, 29th and 30th for the 200 teammates, and 32nd and 37th for the 2 Childress cars. A lot of Chevrolet teams struggled, even while Ford and Toyota were settling the race for the win. Good to see a lot of these people at the back of the field actually get some attention. Andy Seiss and also Quinn Houff getting a lot of attention, both from Seiss's first start of the year, the number 51, And for Quinn Houff having the sponsorship with the home track promotion that NBC was behind there. So it's good to see them get a lot of attention, get some screen time that pays off really quick. It's funny that we're not too far away from Spire Motorsports pulling off that victory at Daytona, and they're right back to being, the underdogs and finishing laps down and further back in the field, and not finding sponsorship. It's disappointing, unfortunately, that they didn't have and they haven't had any deals or anything come together to help them in these other races, or even races to get Justin Haley back out there. And a different deal from there. Yeah, I mean, Hendrick's water pump issue, I mean, that's got to be a big thing that they're going to be looking at this week. Highly unusual situation between both Chase Elliott and Jimmy Johnson. I wondered if maybe it was something to do with the heat. Maybe there's something that boiled over and popped the line off or something like that. Although they talked about them actually losing the another part in there that was causing issues. Hopefully things turn around for them on that, but certainly a difficult circumstance for them, and looking to it from there. Let's see. Looking further on here. So, but again, mentioning Justin Haley, I'd be remiss before we go any further here. Again, condolences to the family of Nick Harrison, Justin Haley's crew chief in the Xfinity Series. A massive outpouring of condolences and respect to the gentleman. Just 37 years old. I mean, that's entirely too young. I mean, my goodness. And for all the success that Colleague Racing has had, and Justin Haley himself. And really, from a lot of the reports, I mean, you hear from a lot of these people saying, the people that he was helping in the Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, it sounded like he was just a great guy. I never had the good fortune of speaking with him myself, but it sounded like he was just a tremendous gentleman there, and shocking news there, especially after what's been a great season for Colleague Racing, their success back at Daytona, and everything from there. But certainly condolences to the family of Nick Harrison, and hopefully we hear some more information about what actually happened there. That, again, somebody passing away at that age, if there's something that can be learned from it, hopefully that helps others along the way. I certainly hope that that's the case. Certainly with Haley and having a great start of the season there for the Colleague Racing, a great run that they had at New Hampshire, at least for part of that event there. That was really the story from there. Bad booking, yeah. To answer your question, yeah, we got the 1993 New Hampshire race in the background. I'm kind of experimenting with a little bit where we don't have the full thing on the screen here. Just kind of something to go in the background, because I know when we did the Daytona show, I was kind of sitting in a different position, just had a big empty white space there. So we'll put something in the background here in the meantime. And, maybe we'll do this with a more weekly thing, just kind of have something close to, not necessarily a green screen, but something very much like that. But, yeah. But again, fantastic race there for the New Hampshire race. Even though Toyota is as dominant as they were and finished second and third with Hamlin and Eric Jones, Kevin Harvick with a much-deserved victory there, finally breaking through here in July. And you could see the relief on his face. I think Harvick, especially from last year, it seemed like he was just very professional, very, not saying he was unprofessional here, but very, unfazed, it seems, sometimes by his success or having a good run or just looking ahead to the championship, being very brief with media and everything like that. But was very much, seemed very relaxed and very down to earth there. And speaking with Rutledge Wood and people in Victory Lane there, and comes home with a lobster here, at least unofficially. We still wait to hear what the results are from inspection. Certainly be extra attention to that, since Harvick was actually the one last year at Texas that had pretty much one of the most serious penalties when he was penalized severely for the victory that he had at Texas and came to Phoenix, not a happy camper, having to actually get back in there to punch his ticket and get back into Homestead. I'm sure that that's going to make people look at the car even closer, given the circumstances under that. But hopefully the car just goes through inspection, and we have what happens going on from there. But regardless, Kevin Harvick with just his first last place finish last year at Charlotte. Daniel Hemrick with his first last place finish today. Looked like we were almost going to get Chase Elliott's first last place finish with the car coming down pit road before Hemrick's did, and the hood up at that point. It looked like Hemrick's stall was in front of Chase Elliott's from at least what it looked like on race view there. So I fully expected that the 9 was going to be going back into the garage area, and we'd have his first, I believe, approximately 130 starts in the Cup Series, where he hasn't finished last a single time. But Hemrick is still unofficially your last place finisher. And Chase managed to gain a few spots there at the end and finish right up there with Jimmy Johnson in the 29th spot. But a rough deal for Hendrick Motorsports and a great run for Stewart-Haas Racing. Looking through the rest of the field here, unfortunate deal for Daniel Suarez. Looked like he had a good run going there for a while. He got tangled up there with Hemrick. Still ends up finishing 19th. Unofficially, from the points they showed at the end of the race, looks like that's enough to knock him out of the top 16, at least temporarily. Pocono next week is going to be really interesting, I think, with Suarez, because remember, prior to this year, it was the second race at Pocono that had Suarez as basically his best performance when he won the pole and finished second to Kyle Busch. Driving for a different team, although his team has now won this year with Kevin Harvick. Maybe that's going to help him next week at Pocono, and we can see a good battle between the 4 and the 14. Not sure if that's going to be the situation or if that was just lightning in the bottle at the time. But I think Suarez could be one to watch next week. So that'll be one thing to look ahead to. Really like the paint scheme on the number 15, Ross Chastain. Didn't get shown a whole lot in the broadcast, a couple of glimpses of it. I understood from discussions on Twitter there that, what was it? It was a company that makes a custom diecast. And they had some kind of deal where they couldn't show exactly what their name is because there was a conflict with Lionel or something like that. I don't have the full details on that, but I thought that was really interesting. It had a really nice look for the car there as well. So hopefully that's something that is the beginning of something much bigger, and they stay out there and are able to get even more attention in future races. Let's see here. Yeah, righty. But yeah, again, seeing a lot of the big names further back. I'm not sure what the situation was with Austin Theriault and David Reagan. The unofficial results shows Theriault was out because of rear gear trouble. I didn't really follow his radio once the last place thing was set up. I was kind of starting to get the article worked on at that point. David Reagan had some issue of some kind there around the same time period there. Ends up finishing about 50 laps down at the finish there in the 34th spot. Both of them still behind Kyle Larson after his accident there at the end of the day. Seems like he has just the most terrible luck there in the McDonald's car. And as we talked about at the top of the show there, it's now been more than 25 years since a McDonald's-sponsored Cup Series car has won. Are we up to the beginning of the race? Yep. We have the first lap incident there that had Jerry O'Neill finish last in the 1993 race at New Hampshire. Number 65 car, a very rare number that we see these days. Not the most recent start for the number. They actually ran the car one more time at Charlotte later that year in the October race. You go back to this race back then, that would be Jeff Burton's first start, Joe Nemechek's first start. And again, like I said, one of the last for Jerry O'Neill. An interesting story. And it continues to this day. I mean, we talk about Seiss and Theriault and the Rick Ware racing cars. New Hampshire is always a great opportunity for teams that don't really get a lot of attention to get some attention by bringing in drivers that haven't made Cup starts before. If memory serves right, I think this was one of the first races that Ryan Preece ran in the number 98 car. I know they had some kind of a throwback that was alluding to his roots in the modified series as well. Let me confirm that here. I got the page pulled up here. I really thought Preece was going to have a better run than he did today. It's unfortunate. It looks like he got some damage at the very beginning there when there were so many jackrabbit starts at the beginning of it that really kind of messed up a lot of people running further back in the field. Let me pull this up here. Yes, it was Loudon. Back when they had the September race, he drove for Mike Kerr, which was basically the Phil Parsons racing entry, driving with sponsorship from Mohawk Northeast and East West Marine. That's a mouthful right there. Finished 32nd in his first Cup race then. A lot of people, I mean, obviously he's going for Rookie of the Year this year because he only ran 5 races. But it's easy to overlook that, again, Preece this isn't necessarily his first foray into the Cup Series. Ran to those few races there. And actually finished under power in all 5 of those. People talk about the start and park efforts of Phil Parsons Racing. Certainly I have, from the stuff in the last place deal there. But again, the thing that's overlooked is by 2015, the Phil Parsons team was running full races, even when they had very limited sponsorship. And this is before the charter system came in and cropped the field down to 40 cars and really was declaring war basically on a lot of these smaller teams. Yeah, it finished 32nd, 42nd, 36th, 37th, and 38th. Not spectacular finishes, however, completing most of the laps in the 5 races that he ran back in 2015. And then, of course, positioning himself to get back into Cup this year, taking over for A.J. Allmendinger in the number 47 for JTG Darty Racing. So, looking again here, we'll get into the Xfinity race here shortly. Hello there, Spaceman Monster. Welcome aboard, everyone. We got 8 people in the chat. Thanks again for everyone joining in here. We're still waiting on any word on what happened with Kevin Harvick's car here in inspection. Looking to score his first win of the season. If it does, it will leapfrog him several positions in the points. As now in the last 2 weeks, we have now seen the top 2 drivers that haven't actually won a race this year now win races and completely change the complexion of at least that portion of the playoff standings. Although Harvick in particular was in a very good position to just lock himself in on points, and Kurt Busch was very close to that last week. We're still waiting to hear from the results from inspection there. So let's take another look here. So it's interesting to see which races the new rules about having a huge spoiler and everything are playing a role in the finishes here. At some tracks it doesn't seem like it's helping a whole lot, but it seems like Kentucky, at least at the finish, wasn't really a great race, but a good finish. This one here seemed like the full picture. It's unfortunate that so many people had tire issues. I hope that doesn't have anything to do with the aero package. I know Kyle Larson seemed to have concerns about the car bottoming out earlier this year at Richmond. Again, a track with not a flat track per se, but track with lower banking than maybe some of these other speedways and super speedways. It seems like it's knocked some people for a loop versus others. But hopefully that helps out for the people up in New Hampshire. I mean, now they just have the one Cup Series date. I know they still have a different deal there for running other races, but that's always the situation there. Let's see. Let me pull up here as well. Big thanks to NASCAR Man again. I wanted to again bring up, for those of you who haven't had a chance to watch it yet, we do have a new NASCAR Man video that was just posted the other day. It was on the top 10 lost NASCAR television broadcast. We just did that the other day. Some great footage or leads on some footage that's perhaps missing there. The hunt begins to find any of those. I'm hoping that in the future we get some of these broadcasts or some of these segments you see during the races where they show some old footage. I know the one where they did the driver by number situation with Alan Cabana. They had some good footage of J.D. McDuffie that I'd never seen before, even in a lot of the stuff that I'd dug up. But some great information there about the number 70 car. Had a great shot of him working on the car back. It looked like Darlington from 91 there towards the end of the season. It was certainly the dark blue Pontiac. Definitely something to check out. But really enjoyed doing, again, the video with NASCAR Man there on Lost Television Broadcast. I'm always anxious to find whatever I could find on any of these broadcasts from years ago. And sometimes you don't really get a whole lot of information on these, but makes things certainly very interesting if you can get that information. And we're going to have all of that for you there. There we go. So let me see here. I want to get that pulled up here as well. Let me look at NASCAR Man's channel. And I'll share the link here for those of you who haven't had a chance to see it here yet. Let me cue that back a little bit. And get that link pulled up here, and I'll drop it in the chat. And there we go. So again, lost television broadcast. I mean, if you think back to the sports history and any races, you would think that maybe this was just something from years ago, and you think, oh, well, of course, it's probably back in the 60s or back in the early 70s before CBS came on board or ESPN. But no, I mean, there's examples in there that are actually from more recent races that were rain delayed. One that immediately comes to mind is always the one about the 1991 spring race at Atlanta, where you have the beginning of the race and then it was postponed and then apparently never broadcast, which is interesting because that's a very rare last place finish for Davey Allison actually occurred in that race. So a bit of last place history that's kind of hidden as well. That's definitely one that comes to mind, but then there's so many other ones. I believe a Truck Series races among the ones on the list there. Definitely a video you want to check out. We got some fantastic research on that. Love the editing in it, and another good video there. Speaking of videos, for those of you that are in the Last Car Patreon, you'll know exactly why I'm wearing my City Chevrolet shirt, although it probably doesn't show up very well in the shot here. But believe me, I am wearing it because I have a new video that just got posted onto my channel just yesterday. If you're in the Patreon, you can already see it. If you join for as little as $1, you can see it now. We're going to post it later this week publicly on YouTube so that everybody can see it as well. It's actually on Why Days of Thunder is Awesome and Always Will Be is the title of it. And certainly a polarizing film. Not everybody is a big fan of it. Certainly the second place finisher of today's race in New Hampshire isn't. And that ends up being kind of part of the video as well. Really doing a story about the development of the film. I know there's a behind-the-scenes featurette about Days of Thunder that's also used in the video, but also even more in depth about the different cars that were used and the different features of the production, and also just how the movie itself was made. I wanted to have this posted a while ago, back during the 4th of July week, to get closer to when the film was released, but I'm going to end up posting it here at the end of this month. And I believe it's still going to be interesting there. So definitely something to look forward to. We're going to have that available again on the my YouTube channel, the Brock Beard channel, or Nadu 1064, whichever of those pulls up for you. And looking to do some more commentary videos like that as time allows. I'm actually working on another book here in the meantime that's been taking up a bit more time, which is why the videos are kind of spaced out quite a bit more. We'll see when the next one gets posted from there, but I'm really enjoying it. It seems like people are really enjoying watching them there and kind of getting back into the rhythm again of producing some more content there beyond just the articles for the website and these disqualification shows. So look forward to seeing that. Again, we'll have more information on that. My plan is to have it up later this week. Haven't decided exactly when. I want to make sure it's at a time where people are able to watch the video and maybe even use that premiere function that YouTube has on there. Although it seems like a lot of people aren't really fans of that. I usually just post the video and just spread the link, and that seems to work just as well. So we'll get something going on that. But again, for those of you in the Patreon that haven't checked it out yet, it's definitely available for you now, and you can check that out at the moment as well. Let's see here. Let's get into the Xfinity Series race. We'll jump into that as well. We had a little bit of an exchange for last place in that race as well. Carl Long making his first start in the Xfinity Series for the season. Not his first start of his team, of course. The team, in fact, has actually had an increased focus on the Xfinity Series this year with 4 teams, including the number 13 that he ran. That's usually a start and park entry. Looking at the results, although they've only finished 1 race under power, which was Max Tolman's race at Daytona in the opener, they've only missed 1 race this year, which was, I believe, in Chicago just a few weeks ago. So a great run for the number 13 this year, and just at least staying out there. Unfortunately, not a great run during the race, where they only completed, I believe, it was 16 laps before falling out of the event. Car number 13 there at the back of the field. Again, look forward to Stephen Pollard III's pictures there on the website. But we had a bit of a battle there at the back of the field in that one. Tyler Matthews was actually the last place qualifier getting back into the circuit. They're driving for JD Motorsports. We had not really any backup cars on the Xfinity Series side, but several people sent to the back for driver changes and whatnot. Ross Chastain was actually qualifying Vinnie Miller's car and had a decent qualifying run for him there. Miller ends up getting to the back of the field. CJ McLaughlin driving the number 39 for RSS Racing. A little bit of an arrangement there to make sure that all of their cars qualify for the race. They actually had 41 cars for 38 spots, which is very rare this year. Even in the Xfinity Series side, we get a bit more entries than we get in the Cup Series. Cup Series only had 37 cars, which is unfortunate. But, getting a lot of these other teams out there, it made a bit more of a competitive field in qualifying. Landon Castle was able to qualify Morgan Shepherd's car in the show, which is great. Traditionally, this has been a race that we've usually seen Shepard even run in the Cup Series race. Joey Logano is one that is probably not a big fan of that. Unfortunately, there was that incident a few years ago where Logano and Shepard hooked bumpers. Nothing intentional, but such things happen sometimes when lap traffic is trying to get out of the way. And Shepard was unfortunately collected on that one. Shepard didn't end up starting in the Xfinity Series race. Landon Castle was in the car. They had a throttle linkage issue. It looked like a bolt had dropped or the linkage itself had failed. They ended up spending some time behind the wall. It wasn't the start and park, although it was perhaps speculated that they were going to be. From what Pollard was telling me on Twitter there was that they didn't even have enough crew members to get the car pushed to the garage. They ended up spinning about 9 laps on pit road and had to get pushed back to the garage area from the number 98 team with Chase Briscoe's. I need to apologize if I quoted this incorrectly there. I'm getting confused between Chase Briscoe in the number 98 and Austin Cindric in the 22. I believe I attributed Cindric getting Briscoe getting, see it right there. I believe I attributed Briscoe getting sent to the back for an engine change, but that was actually Cindric in the number 22. So just to clear that up, if that was unclear on that, I've corrected that now in the article, so that'll be put in there. What was interesting when Castle went behind the wall, the crew basically left it 100% up to Castle to see if he wanted to come back out there and run some more laps. Castle decided to do so, and in doing so, we're able to pass the number 13 of Carl Long and get in a pretty good battle there with Bailey Curry, who had also fallen out in the early laps there with Rick Ware's car and come back out himself 10 laps down. It wasn't quite as competitive as we saw at Kentucky, where you had actual drivers that were waiting each other out. John Jackson actually had one of the best runs this year of the 13 by staying out and trying to wait out some of the RSS racing cars and others in the back of the field and finishing, I believe, in the 31st spot in that race. Joey Gase had mechanical issues, a brake issue on the number 35 car. He came back out as well, just like the 89, and completed more laps. Which is why it's really helpful to really follow these races when it happens, and I try to do that as many times as possible to really get those stories, because you look at the official results and you think, oh, okay, well, the number 13 car, they just ran 16 laps and they pulled in the garage area and that's it. I really try to actually kind of do a thing where it's actually the battle for position, because you get some interesting insight there as to what these teams are competing for, what their objectives are, and how many positions they're actually going to gain throughout the race. And that was certainly the factor here. Castle was getting back up there, but then said that it broke again. Something broke underneath the hood of the car again, and he ended up dropping further back in the field. Castle 37th in the finishing results. John Hunter Nemechek in 36th after backing into the wall, eliminated completely there from that accident. Bailey Curry got past both Castle and Nemechek to get up to the 35th spot. And then the second of the motorsports business management cars from Carl Long finished in the 34th spot. That was Timmy Hill, according again to the pictures provided from the track there. The hood was up on the number 66, which is the dark blue car, similar to the Cup car that Hill ran earlier this year at Kansas. They ended up finishing 34th in the spot. So that was 6 last place finishes this year for motorsports business management. Most of them with the number 13 car, between the, I believe now 6 different drivers that have run that car this year. And so a deal with that. Great run by Ryan Sieg, certainly working some strategy to get back up into the field there and having a good showing there in the first stage. Looking at some other smaller teams that were up there. Unfortunately, other teams having struggles as well. Shane Lee in the number 28 car had their first bad run of the year in their part-time effort, the Circuit City machine. They ended up finishing towards the bottom of the field with, I believe, their first bottom 10 finish of the year, the number 28 car. Harrison Burton in his little scuffle there with Paul Menard was a bit of entertainment there as well. Paul Menard, very matter of fact about the contact there with the number 18 car that sent him to the back of the field. Kaz Gralla with a great run there in the 14th spot. Good to see him in the 21 car back out there. Richard Childress Racing entry. They ended up finishing again 14th spot, 1 spot behind Justin Haley. Again, a 13th position for the final race of Nick Harrison is his crew chief there. The GR Motorsports cars were up there as well. Michael Annett, Noah Gregson, and Ryan Truex all getting in the top 11 positions. I mentioned Ryan Sieg earlier. He was swapped into the number 93 when they put C.J. McLaughlin in the number 39 to make sure that car qualified. The 93, after being basically the car that Jeff Green and Josh Bilicki had run through much of this year, oftentimes as a start and park entry. It was good to see that car actually finish in the 8th position there and lead a lap as well. So fantastic run for them. The top of the field, the big three of Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, and Tyler Reddick, broken up this time around by Justin Allgaier, finishing in the third spot there. Reddick, Custer, and Bell looking to be, again, the big stories this year, and continuing to be at the top of the field. Reddick now 56 points ahead of Bell, and Custer 76 points back in the lead in third. Allgaier now further back, 146 points back in the fourth spot. Some very interesting talent working their way up the ranks, and hopefully we'll see some different deals to actually get these guys up there without losing too many of the people that have been locked up in the teams that are up there now. I know attention being focused on Eric Jones, who himself had quite the rough day here in the Cup Series race, but recovered tremendously to finish in the third spot there after banging fenders there on pit road, having that orange cone penalty that turned out to not be a penalty. A little bit of strangeness there in the rule book there. Apparently, if it's like, 2 tires over the box versus the whole car, a little bit unusual. I figured if you crossed over that box that was going to be a penalty, and he thought that same thing too. But that certainly worked out great for him, having a great finish there at the end of the day. Let's see here. Gray Galding and Brandon Brown continuing their top 20 streak. Brown in the 16th spot, which is a good bounce back after their second car. The number 68 didn't qualify. Apparently, we're looking ahead to them getting a different driver in that car next week, the number 68. The Brandon Brown, Brandon Built Motorsports team being a little secretive there about who that's going to be, but that'll be interesting to see. Jeremy Clements with a good finish, 15th place finish for the number 51 car there. Ray Black Jr. just behind Gray Galding in the 18th position. Matt Mills, again, this is one that we haven't really talked too much about this year. Usually it comes up more when he gets cycled back to the back of the field. Matt Mills finishing in the 20th spot. A great run for BJ McLeod's team. And speaking of BJ McLeod's team, have to talk about Tommy Joe Martins. Apparently the news just broke this past week that Martins has made his final start with the McLeod's team and is now looking to join Motorsports Business Management. It'll be interesting which car he runs after Carl Long ran the number 13 this year and how many laps he's going to be running. Perhaps an increased effort that's going to help out actually those teams run more laps. Certainly the number 13 from what we've seen this year, it would be interesting to see if they get some sponsorship. Perhaps his Diamond Gusset Jeans sponsorship is going to help them out. I don't know for sure which car he's going to be brought into. It seems like there's a lot of opportunities. We've seen Fincham most often, Chad Fincham most often in the 42, Joey Gase in the 35, and Timmy Hill in the 66. So it seems the direction would be pointing to the 13. That would be my guess, but that's just an instinct on that because we've seen all three of those drivers get swapped around between their rides this year, and even a lack of sponsorship on the number 35, which was surprising, just showing the OCR gas bar sponsorship that we've seen from a lot of Carl Long's cars. And then Gase, again, recovering from brake issues to finish 31st in that race. So, but that'll be interesting too for Tommy Joe Martin since '99 at BJ McLeod's team is basically a part-time effort. Stephen Parsons at Daytona just a few weeks ago had their best effort this year, and a different set of circumstances there. But we certainly wish him the best of luck as he now makes a transition between a couple of different teams here, trying to make names for themselves in the Xfinity Series and develop their programs accordingly. But Carl Long article for this week. We're getting that finished up there, and that'll be posted later tonight along with the Cup Series effort there as well. Hey there, Corey LaJoy, Fan 32. Welcome aboard. We have 12 people in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. This is the Disqualification Show as we continue to wait for results from Kevin Harvick's impressive victory today in New Hampshire. We are at about the 1 hour mark of the wait for inspection results, so we should be pretty close to hearing back, depending on how quick they get through the room of doom and everything. We will find out if it's going to be a Daniel Hemrick article, the first ever at NASCAR, because again, he hasn't finished last in this Cup, Xfinity, or Truck Series starts, or is it going to be another one for Kevin Harvick, or perhaps another driver further back in the field? We will see what the story is and what will be carrying us into Pocono next weekend. And for Pocono, we're going to be back at the other headquarters. I've been moving around things in that area there that are going to have the TV screen. We got the speakers hooked up. I know last time for our Kentucky show, I was trying to play some audio on there. It didn't come through the speakers very well at all. So I've hooked up some speakers that dug out from the garage area. Oh, I did it again. I called it the garage area. I should just call it that anyway. I mean, it's NASCAR headquarters. Let's just call it the garage area, not just the garage. I kind of like that. But we got some very exciting things set up for that, and I really want to make sure on the weekly shows here that we're going to have a nice setup there, and I think something that's going to be more interesting on the audio-visual side. Every other one of the shows is still going to be in this room, and we'll try to do something different here with the screen in the background. I'm not the best visual aid here, but I'd like to do some more stuff with actually interacting with moments that happen during the race and other things to really kind of grow the program here and make it very good. But the fortunate thing is we've had a lot of old office equipment in the garage from the move that we did with the parents earlier this year. And we were able to dig up some stuff here that we could use, the old computer screen, the table to set up some more stuff there. All of that, we haven't bought any of that. That's all just stuff from the garage that we're repurposing here. And we're going to make it into a better studio there and give you more to watch and more to enjoy on future editions of these disqualification shows. But every other week, we'll be in this room here and doing something very much with the visual aids behind us and try something like that along the way. So let's see. But yeah, I would assume that the Diamond Gusset Jeans Company is going to be coming back again with Tommy Joe Martins. Not sure exactly what the deal is there. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't a factor into it. They still sponsored his number 99 car when they loaded up there at New Hampshire, and we'll see what happens in the weeks coming up ahead. But again, we'll have the Cup Series article and the Xfinity article posted later tonight. Our ARCA correspondent, William Saki, has a new article on the race at Iowa that preceded the all-nighter there on the IndyCar Series this past week. His article will be on the ARCA Menard Series again. We'll have that for you on Tuesday. This week, I'm also going to be posting my next video in the commentary series, as I mentioned earlier, which is going to be on the story of Days of Thunder and the making of it. Those of you in the Patreon can see it now. Everybody else will be able to see it later this week. We'll get that posted. We'll have more information on that coming up. And in the meantime, we are also, again, preparing for our upcoming trip for the next at-track coverage, which is going to be starting at the end of August for the weekend in Mosport. We just finished our setting up our hotel accommodations for that week, and as well as staying with our friend Robert Taylor up there. We're going to get some more information from them. Big thanks to Mr. Taylor there for taking myself and my brother in that week. We're going to do some very good coverage up there north of the border and work on bringing some more last place coverage outside of the country. We've done the other side of the other coast. Now we're going to work on international coverage and hopefully get some Pinty Series coverage in there. That's what I'd really like to do there as well. Still haven't heard back on the credentials yet, so we don't know exactly what faculty we're going to be in there, if we're going to have to do something as outsiders or if we're going to be in the media angle. Hopefully the credentials go through, but again, we have no control over that. As part-timers here, we got to kind of work that out as best we can. Perhaps further down the line, if we start doing more races, we'll look into doing a hard card and making things a little bit easier for down the stretch. But as of right now, we're kind of going from a race-to-race basis and looking to cover as many of these as possible. Again, there's still spots available on the magnet that we're going to have on the back of our rental car for the trip that's going to be coming up there. We're going to be, again, doing the Mosport race and then driving the rental car from Bowmanville, Ontario, down to Darlington, South Carolina, and covering the Return to Throwback weekend. We've been anxious to go back there ever since we did the coverage in 2017 while finishing the research for the J.D. McDuffie book. And we're going to be heading back down there again, hoping to meet up with some people there and doing some more work for the website there. It was outstanding coverage there. We got to meet Racing Underdogs was there that last time we were there, and that was great. And the Throwback weekend is fantastic, and we would have done it last year, but that was when we did the Watkins Glen coverage, and that was kind of our bigger focus, and certainly that was a huge productive weekend there as well. And so we're preparing for that. So we're getting a lot of those details finished, a lot of exciting things coming up. I even, actually, I'll announce this, I don't have the prototype with me. We're even working on giving the NASCAR Championship some physical form. We always like to do something where we have the last place championship and we say, oh, well, so-and-so won the championship. Or, it was Jeff Green or Michael McDowell or some of these other drivers. I always wanted to do something where we would actually have like a physical thing. Like if it's not a trophy or like a championship thing, I'm thinking the inspiration is like, well, not just obviously the championships and the sport itself, but in the history of competitive ocean liners back in the 1930s, there was such competition for having the fastest transatlantic crossing. They always call it the blue ribbon of the Atlantic, but it was an abstract term. They didn't actually have a trophy for it. So I want to kind of do something like that where they ended up coming up with a trophy for that. It ended up being tossed back and forth between different countries. Interesting story. Definitely look up, for those of you interested in that subject, I'd recommend the documentary Floating Palaces, which was done by A&E in the late 90s. That's a really interesting story about how there was international competition for transatlantic crossings, even after the Titanic disaster, where where speed was really a factor in the disaster that ensued there. When safety improved and luxury liners were getting bigger and bigger, that was an interesting story from there. But not to turn this into a ship chat, but we're going to go back into racing there again. We're working on a physical manifestation of the NASCAR Championship. Nothing grand to begin with, but we're looking at doing something where at least we have a physical form, something that could be actually presented to drivers or teams that clinch the championship, something that could be updated from one year to the next. And that's going to be part of a larger plan to do something here to kind of make that a bigger story and make that something that we could do further ahead, especially with eyes on doing more of the later season races. We did Phoenix last year where Joe Nemechek actually locked up the Truck Series NASCAR Championship, and the Cup Series one was set up to be a barn burner at Homestead after Timmy Hill fell out at the end of that race. We're going to start doing some more stuff with that. I have what I'm going to be doing is actually some certificates that I've been working on. We actually have some NASCAR certificates in that deal there for the NASCAR Championship, and be able to show those. So that'll be interesting to do there. All over the U.S. that drive. Well, yeah, we're not going to be driving. To be clear, we're not going to drive from Bowmanville, Ontario to Darlington and then over to Phoenix from there. Now we're going to break that up. Obviously, since Phoenix and Texas aren't going to be until November, that's going to be a different deal. But we're going to definitely do the one from Ontario to Darlington, South Carolina. And as part of that, we want to do the NASCAR Hall of Fame and do some other stuff. Check out the shops down there, the team shops. We've never done that before. That's why we want to kind of space that out and give ourselves enough time to check as much of that as possible. So that's going to be the interesting thing coming up. And again, if you want to be on board, you want your name on our rental car. We're going to put it on a magnet. So, of course, it's not a sticker that we have to peel off and then bring back to Hertz afterwards. But we're going to put it on a magnet on the back of the car. And then everyone who's in the Patreon will be entered in a random drawing. Whoever wins that was going to win the magnet. We'll mail it over to you, whoever the winner is. And so if you want to get in on the ground floor on that, as little as $1 into the Patreon could get you on the magnet. We already have 7 people on there right now. Plenty of room for anybody who wants to join up between now and I believe the middle of August is when we're going to order the magnets. So we make sure we get it in enough time there that we can put it on, and that'll be a lot fun. The JGR race shop, yeah, that'll be a good one to check out. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what we can check out, and that'll be really good coming up. So we're definitely a lot of things to be excited about. We got a lot of things coming up for you guys. First, not the least of which is going to be our articles today, as well as William Saki's on Tuesday for the ARCA Menard series. We're looking to do some more coverage with him as well. We don't have anything fully locked down there, but once we do, we'll make a full announcement on that. And I hope that in the next few weeks, we're going to be able to make that announcement and have some more information there. So a lot of irons in the fire. We're at a really exciting point here where we can really kind of get that going. And we'll do some more coverage of these races coming up. We had a fantastic weekend over there at the deals there with the race at Sonoma, and very anxious to get back into the seat again and doing some more trackside coverage there. I'm just looking at your comment there, Beast of Metal, about the premieres there. Urinating Tree, big fan of his work. Really love his. He's got this wonderfully cynical perspective on different sports and different teams, and dissecting every mistake they made along the way. Actually, part of one of his videos is actually in my Days of Thunder video. Certainly accredit him in the video credits there as well. Always really entertaining stuff. Very different tone from what I do here, but not in a negative way at all. I mean, fantastic work. I'm a big fan of his, even from back in his video game reviews. And that's something for me, because I don't like video games. I'm terrible at them. I don't really spend any time dealing with them. When I was in high school, I spent way too much time on NASCAR Racing 99, coming up with different paint schemes back then. So after that point, I was like, look, I can't spend too much time on this. I'm not going to get anything else done. But I really love Urinating Trees videos, and I recommend checking out his work as well. But that'll be interesting. So we're coming up to about the 1 hour mark. We should be well past it now. I see 54 minutes in the broadcast. We're an hour and 10 minutes in for the wait for inspection results. Let's take a look at the Twitter feed. I don't have this hooked up to. I don't have the computer hooked up to this yet, so I can't pull it up here. You just get the corner of it anyway. So that's why I'm not really worrying about that. We're kind of doing more of the wind tunnel setup or something where we just kind of have stuff in the background and at least fill that up. Let me get this pulled up here. We'll pull up Honkrus's page here. Let's see if any other announcements have come through here. Let's see here. Interesting. Okay, so nothing new on Honkrus's channel yet here. The latest tweet that he has posted 15 minutes ago is addressing the sponsorship on Richard Childress's number 3 car, Austin Dillon, who had such struggles there today. Incidentally, I really like the way the car looked. Again, doing a kind of a black and white paint scheme. Those seem to be the strongest ones. The New England light schemes that they used to run, where they kind of that cream color with the black, that looked really nice in the Xfinity series. Hopefully they get back to something closer to that. But mentioning the tweet here from Honkrus, there were Dow people here today with Richard Childress Racing. Dow is going through a corporate transition and wants RCR to use other logos and products at the moment, and they are signed for 2020. So apparently the Dow Chemical Company still staying with the number 3 car, but they have apparently other holdings with other companies or other arrangements with other companies, and so they have different looks on the cars for different weeks coming ahead. So that's why they have the different looks on the cars, and apparently they're assured with their sponsorship coming up ahead. That's another big thing looking forward to with the Darlington Southern 500 there is the Childress throwback they're running there. You got like this black and gold deal there from one of Childress's old cars. I think it's a great angle to do where they're not just restrained to Dale Earnhardt paint schemes. Of course, that's going to be a big part of the history of RCR, but now we're in the 50th anniversary of it. I think it's really worth looking back further back to Childress's own racing career as an owner-driver. They've done the ones from the old CRC Chemicals car years ago, and now doing this other deal here. That's going to be a really sharp-looking deal. I'm also very anxious to see what Rick Ware's team's going to be doing. Now they have multiple cars here, multiple chartered cars. I'd like to believe they're going to do another Days of Thunder one. I don't know offhand. My hope is that the progression is that now they did the Mellow Yellow car, they did the Hardy's car. I'm hoping the Superflow car is next because that would be fantastic. Michael Annette's team should have run it a few years ago when they ran the 46. Apparently they had some kind of a copyright issue with the car number. It would be unfortunate since they run the 51 instead, so they can't really do the 46. But maybe that'll change up. Who knows? And in fact, Carl Long's team ran the 46 car earlier this year, and we've seen the 66 run before. We talked with Carl Long back in 2017 when he was running his first Southern 500 since 2005. That was one thing that always stands out in my mind is going on pit road there before the race and said, "Hey, Carl, your first Southern 500 since 2005. How do you feel?" And what did he say? He said, "Fat." So incidentally, they got him in the car there, and he started that race. Ended up getting swapped out for Timmy Hill towards the end of the race. There, as heat exhaustion was a big issue, as it was certainly with Casey Kane last year, the race that ultimately ended his career. Kane now hopefully having a much better time running the sprints and everything else on the dirt tracks there. But weather promises to be plenty warm there. So we're going to be we're already starting the hydration process already now to get ready for that. But that's going to be exciting. I hope to get some great coverage for you guys there for both the Truck Series race as well as the one for the ones at Darlington, and that'll be interesting coming up. And then Phoenix is the finale for 2020. We're already starting to look at that. To do that coverage again because we really enjoyed ourselves at Phoenix last year. It was an honor to be there as part of the unveiling of the new infield garage. That's going to be a big success there. They had great food and stuff in there, and a lot of fans coming out there with their Matt Kenseth bobbleheads and everything. That was really enjoyable. I think it's probably not the best venue, to be honest, for the finale. I think Homestead has a very unique angle to it, especially since it's basically the only race that they run, or the only race they run for the Cup Series that year, Whereas with Phoenix, you still have the spring race. So you kind of give them a preview of what the finale is. Not to say they haven't done that before. I mean, obviously Atlanta used to be like that. But, yeah, very different situation there. Ted Hugo, look at your comment there about the number 53 car coming back for the first time since Herbie. I like that. You know, it's always, you look back at the Cup Series, not a number that you're typically used to seeing in the circuit that often. Obviously, you think back to, I mean, really obscure drivers over the years. You think back to Richie Petty, a car that I believe was still sitting outside the Petty Enterprises shop years later. They were sponsored by Winston Cup Water, if you can believe that, a bottled water company. A bottle of water that was sold by Winston Cup, so you had that kind of cross promotion there between the brands, and that car was involved actually in the accident that sent Jimmy Horton's car over the wall at Talladega in 1993 and critically injured Stanley Smith at the same time. A bit of a piece of history there. 53 is not a number you typically see that often, and that was really entertaining to follow there, and we'll see when that team makes its return. Could be as soon as Pocono next week if we're still having 37 car entry lists. I'm not sure if that's going to be the situation for the Ware team or not. I'm hopeful that maybe they do some kind of throwback for Darlington. It'd be pretty easy to do. A lot of the 53 cars from the past are usually white cars with orange numbers on the sides of them. It'd be pretty easy to do from the schemes that they've run in the past. But that would be an interesting interesting deal there. Looking at the background, Sterling Marlin and the Stavola brothers car leading the way. I actually was going to bring my Stavola brothers car this week there to kind of have a visual cue in the background. It wasn't really going to work. We didn't really have a table in here to set anything on. But it was going to be really well timed there with Daniel Hemrick's last place run in the number 8 car this week. Excuse me. But yeah, a different situation there. We ended up bringing Ricky Rudd car here. We can bring that out actually while we're waiting for the inspection results here. Let's see. Yeah, and as you see on the screen here, Davey Allison in the second spot, what turned out to be the final Cup Series race of his career in July of 1993, tragically lost his life in that helicopter accident at Talladega just a few days later. If you listen, one thing I would highly recommend if you haven't listened to it is MRN Radio did this segment on the 25th anniversary of the 1993 season. It was posted last year. A fantastic thing. There's a great story in there about this very race and about how Davey Allison almost won it. That he did end up finishing behind Rusty Wallace, who you're seeing on the screen here now, winning the very first race after starting in the 33rd spot. Davey Allison very nearly beat Rusty to win that race, and the story behind that's really good. Another story that was always really interesting from that, too, is Kyle Petty, when he had his one of the last races, his final win with the Mellow Yellow sponsorship, not the final win overall for his Cup Series career. He was actually driving a car that basically barely fit the templates, and Pontiac was outraged about because they said it just looked terrible. And it's really hard to tell from the broadcast. The car looks great to me, especially out front. Love that lime green and the black paint scheme there, but apparently that was something that really put Pontiac up in arms there. So stories like that, really interesting, and definitely recommend listening to in the broadcast there, MRN. They're 25 years later of the 1993 season, the 93 retrospective. I believe it's still available on their app as well as their website. Something to check out there. Nope, you just see the 42 takeoff just there. But Sterling Marlin, I believe he had a really good run in this race. I mean, contrary to the problem that Daniel Hemrick had today in the 8 car, this was one of Sterling Marlin's best runs, and you wouldn't think that from back then, given that Sterling's first win was actually in the number 4 car at the Daytona 500, which is the team. This is the team he left with the Stavola brothers before he went over there. And by leaving this team, that left open the opportunity for Jeff Burton to drive in his rookie season. Again, mentioning this was Jeff Burton's first Cup Series start as well. A lot of overlapping history in this as well. You see Davey Allison coming off of pit road there in the number 28. Dale Earnhardt now on screen, your champion for that season, the 6th of his 7 championships. A return to form for him after a miserable 1992 season where he finished last several times, the last of his career. He didn't finish last any other times from 1993 through his passing in 2001. An interesting story from there, and that's all that whole deal there. Of course, you see all the other stories there from there. I'm still waiting to hear from technical inspection. Let's check the thread again. Don't see anything new on Pockrus's channel, at least, so we're still waiting to see what happens. Yeah, still confirming here. Anything new on this. Still official reason out for Daniel Hemrick there by accident. See Jeff Gordon on the screen there. Of course, the very beginning of the age that we now find ourselves in, that Jeff Gordon, as the 1993 Rookie of the Year, had a very difficult season. That's the other thing really listen to, without promoting too many other things. But there's a lot of things we've been listening to lately that definitely are worth a mention. Certainly got to mention the NASCAR Scene Vault podcast and Ray Evernham's interview. I'm still catching up on that. I got a few episodes to catch up on. I'm still on the third part of the Evernham one. That was interesting. And yeah, you mentioned there, David. Yeah, I mean the length of pit stops. You think Kevin Harvick's stop was slow today when that crew member was slipping in the right rear? Just look how long these guys are sitting here. Like Dale Jarrett now on pit road here, the number 18 car. Joe Gibbs Racing Team being as good as they were, winning the Daytona 500 this year. You get a stop that's under 20 seconds, and they call that good. I mean, 20 seconds now, they're like, wait, what the heck went wrong? Something was a problem. Saw something very close to that today with Chase Elliott and Daniel Hemrick sitting on pit road for as long as they were, very similar to Landon Castle in the Xfinity race yesterday. So that whole situation there. Let's see. I will tell you, I am very easily sold on a product. This one today is brought to you by Dr. Thunder, the Walmart equivalent of Dr. Pepper. I talked myself into buying these because I just like the name. That's very easy. I mean, NASCAR's made plenty of money off me as Jeff Burton now hits the wall from just products that have like a silly name or just like, I kind of mull it over in my mind. It's like, well, okay. I mean, then I started thinking, well, how many of the 23 flavors in Dr. Pepper are actually in this? Maybe like 15, maybe 13. Like what constitutes Dr. Thunder? This is pretty good, I gotta say. Like I'm not big on like regular soda, but that's why I like these little cans. But this is pretty good, I gotta say. It's definitely not what Dr. Pepper is, but it's pretty close to it. So definitely recommended there for sure. Let's see. There's a paint scheme that I really like. Lake Speed in the Purex car. Love that one. That's one of my earliest memories. He had a wreck at Charlotte, and the car caught on fire. And they were waiting to, luckily he was okay getting out of it. He didn't run the full season by this point. Number 83 is a number you kind of more identify with him in his career because that was the number he ran to his only win at Darlington, running Hoosier tires in '88. I love that Purex car. They actually made it in diecast for Racing Champions years ago. That was really an interesting situation there. Mentioning the gap between Davey and Alan Koicke's passing. Yeah, those few months there between what happened with Alan Koicke's plane crash and the helicopter accident that claimed the life of Davey Allison. You see now Jeff Burton. Here, let me turn the camera this way. There we go. Get a little better shot. There you go. That's fenced pretty good there. Driving the number 0 car, or the black hole, as Last Bro calls it, whenever the number 0 runs out there. It seems like the number 0 car always has the worst luck. Now pulling behind the wall there. No crash clock in 1993, but ultimately finishing towards the back of the field there in that race. And Davey Allison in the number 4 car, right nose to tail. Those two drivers end up crossing paths later on that season when Davey Allison lost his life. Irvin was swapped in, leaving the Morgan McClure team, even though he was under contract, jumping over to the number 28 car and made it his own in '94. Had an outstanding start to that season in '94. Looked like he was going to have something for Dale Earnhardt that year. And then ultimately, unfortunately, was almost lost his life in an accident in Michigan with a blown tire there, and was out the rest of the season. Was never quite the same again, although he did come back and win in Michigan in 1997. One of the best stories of the 1990s in NASCAR back then. Yes, you mentioned Del McCowart. Let's talk about that piece of debris that came up on Twitter the other day, where somebody had found the entire front nose clip of Del McCowart car. I believe Mike Joy said that it was from '92. I think it might have actually been from '93 at the least, because the front valence, the Fords, you'll see, it may not show very well in the broadcast here. The Fords had a very different arrangement on the grills, where they kind of reduced it down and kind of rounded things off a little bit more. They had very small, almost like circular holes for the front valence that they would run back then, which is different from the 92 version, which is kind of stretched out and much more flat. 1990 through 92 Fords had a very flat front end on them. And then the rounding kind of built up from the 94 to 96 or so. And then by 97, they were round, but they were very square, very stretched out. You look at like Bill Elliott's car from 97, it's a very different deal. Cowart really ran like old equipment for many years afterwards. So it's very possible that was run up until like this last start. What I'd really like to know is if that was the nose of the car that went through inspection, that skipped inspection and tried to get out of the field for the 1997 Winston Open that was parked because he wasn't supposed to be out there. That would be an amazing piece of history. I wouldn't drop $300 on that. That's really expensive for me. I've never spent more than just a few bucks on debris before on pieces of sheet metal. I have a piece of Jeff Green's starting part car. It's actually the cover for our Xfinity Series last place book there until just last year, which was interesting. But that was always the deal there. I wouldn't spend that much on that, but boy, I'll tell you what, I hope somebody ends up with it because that would be great if that was preserved, much like J.D. McDuffie's Dover car is in the process of being preserved up at Bailey Excavating. So an interesting deal there. Looking ahead to the race here, we have, let's see, we're 3 cautions for 13 laps, 19 cars on the lead lap, 2 cars out of the Slick 5300. And 5 different leaders. Among them looks like Davey Allison and Sterling Marlin. Looks like Rusty Wallace, I believe, is your leader there. It's really hard to tell. This is what I like about the screen that we have set up for future shows. I think when we get back to proper NASCAR headquarters, we have the screen. I'm really excited about next week's Pocono show. That's going to be another one where I'm going to be basically half asleep after work. That's okay, because I'm going to be definitely plenty awake, being excited, getting set up there for the show there after that. And hopefully it hasn't finished. It's nearly as good as the last 2 weeks that we've had. That'll be good to see. And you're right there, Andrew. Yeah, they ran the Thunderbirds briefly in 98. If you remember correctly, one thing that was fantastic in 98, sadly he's not with us anymore, the late Billy Standridge running the Thunderbirds in all 4 plate races that year. He actually qualified for all 4 of them, which is no small accomplishment. And this was a guy that, had a very underfunded team, ran a plain white car, very limited sponsorship, and got those cars out there. Actually, when he ran a Ford Taurus that was properly like the 98 season, it wasn't nearly as good as the other ones. He was actually better in the Thunderbird and getting that car in the show. So great job for him back then. I'm reminded in 2001 when Jeff Purvis did the same thing, driving for Phoenix Racing when they got back in the sport. They were running the old Ford Tauruses from Bill Elliott's team. Very same situation, white cars, very little sponsorship. I think Subway came on board for Talladega once. They qualified those cars in the show for all 4 plate races. So that was always a great deal there. But yeah, tragically, Billy Standridge, he was ill a few years ago. This family was posting some messages online. I hate that I never got a chance to talk to him. He's very much, he almost looks like J.D. McDuffie plucked out of the 1990s and then into the late 90s. He looked very similar to him, with a big mustache and a very down-to-earth gentleman there. But tragically, a driver of the number 47 car who had raced for Rookie of the Year, actually against a lot of these big-name guys out there, the number 47 car, he did pass away back in the 90s, just a few years ago. If JTG Darty Racing wanted to do an interesting throwback, and I know that they've done a lot of these ones with underdogs. They had Patty Moise's car with Chris Buescher last year, or with Bruce Hill. I think a Billy Standridge throwback would be really cool. It'd be very easy to do a white car with either the black numbers. Can you imagine, actually, one of the great things that Billy Standridge did, for those of you who remember back in 97, when he finished last at Talladega, that car was sponsored by J-Ski's Silly Season page. And that sponsorship continued into the 1998 Daytona 500. So when you see those shots, the Winston shot that they used about respect isn't taken, it's earned. Like it shows the number 3 car coming down, everybody giving him a high five. You see the J-Ski banner for Billy Standridge's crew there. That was always an interesting deal there. Where was that? Let me get the article. I did an article on Standridge. When was that? Yeah, that was, oh gosh, that was 2014. That's been a few years ago. Yeah, driver of the number 47 car. For those of you who are interested, I'm going to post the article in here. You can find it as well. and do that. Definitely a throwback there to some of these other drivers that don't get talked about as much. But yeah, that was a deal there. Interesting. Okay. There's other stories there coming through. I saw somebody make a post here about Sandridge possibly running for LG DeWitt later in his career. I'm not aware of that. I didn't actually see that comment until just pulling up the page now. I gotta do some digging on there. Oh, we are at the 90-minute mark. So any moment now, we should be expecting results from technical inspection. And I do see a new tweet on Bob Pockrass's page. Let's pull it up. And no, not yet. We do not have a call yet, at least not from Pockrass's page. Typically, we hear about 90 to 120 minutes after the race, so we should know a little bit. There you go. So the same post that we usually see every week. That's the most recent one on that. We'll see if any other channels are saying anything in the meantime, and we'll keep the Slick 5300 running in the background here. Maybe that's what we'll do here for these future theater room experiences here. Matt DiBenedetto posted 22 minutes ago, another top 5 today. Heck yeah. Love my Levine family racing team. They deserve this so much. So thankful for them, Toyota, Procore, and everyone for believing in me to be a part of this. Muscle flex. Fantastic. Great run for Matt DiBenedetto again today. Can't forget about the run there. And again, I do think that in spite of the heat that's going to be a big issue in a lot of these races here, I think it's also a situation where we're going to see Matt have some great runs. We'll see what he can do at Watkins Glen after the follow-up to the run at Sears Point and all that kind of deal there. Really pleased with David McQueen's picture of the number 51 car that was run there by Andy Seiss today, so that was really good. And I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. I think I heard it in the broadcast that it's Seiss, not Seuss. I know that when they talk about Dr. Seuss, they always say that he pronounced his name like the word rejoice, so it's like Dr. Seuss. Right? I think it's Seiss with him. So I'm pretty sure that's true. Sticking with it. I'm pretty sure I'll mispronounce Quinn Hauf's name another 7 or 8 times, like I always do every week on this. But yeah, let me post this picture. Okay, yeah, Seiss. Okay, good. At least I get that one right. I'm an English major, but pronunciation was not my minor, so I'll tell you that. Andy Seiss picture. Let me put this tweet up. I just really like this shot. Can we remark now at how nice the 51 car looks at Rick Ware Racing? That's a really nice looking paint scheme. It's so clean. I'm not usually a big fan of cars where white is like a big part of the paint scheme. Although Jerry Nadeau's paint scheme with Michael Holligan is still in my pantheon of like best paint jobs ever, right there with Kenny Irwin's Bell South car, the Tide Ride, and a few others. Let me see. But that's kind of the deal there. Let me see. Let me grab something here. I'm going to move this out of the way with the computer now because I have something else I want to pull up. Hang on, we might have a call here. We might have a call. Let's take a look. No, we do not have a call. No, not yet. Okay, let me pull this up. Hang on, folks. I'll be right back. Okay, here's the car I brought that I was going to have in the display in the background here. Again, another of the paint schemes that's always a big fan. Would always be, oh, hang on, did this show up in the camera correctly? There it is. Ricky Rudd's Tide Ride. Now, this is a very special one. This is one of the ones that Hot Wheels did where it has a little trivia thing on the screen. And you can't really see it very well, but that's not very good in that shot. The lighting in here is not the best. But it has a little screen on here. You can do some question and answers. Let's see if we can do some trivia here while we're waiting for the inspection results to come through. What's it set on here? Oop. Fast facts. All right, let's see if anybody can get this. Who won the 1993 IROC Championship? Any picks? So see who can do it without Googling in here. Who won the 1993 IROC Championship? Mark Martin? That's a good guess. I don't know. I'm actually stumped on that one. Davey Allison. Ah, wow. Hey, Andrew, you got it, bud. There you go. Next one. All right. How many wins did Ricky Rudd have in 1997? 2, right? You had one Dover and you won Indy. 2. Boom. Nailed it. 2. There you go. Bad booking. You got it, bud. This one, what it's hard to tell. It's got an LED with about 8 squares on it, so that's why I'm reading it like William Shatner here. I got to do this one time. Andy Petrie, Dale Earnhardt, former crew chief, competed in how many Busch Series races in 1988? Oh my God, this thing is not pulling punches today. Okay, any picks? How many Busch Series races did Andy Petrie run in 1988? Don't look at Racing Reference. Guesses now? 4, you have Fish Productions? 5? I'm thinking 2, like, okay. 8? No clue. Okay, here we go. Here comes the answer. 4. Oh, bad booking and Fish Productions. You got it. There you go. This thing's hard. I can see why this was in my box in the garage, because this is, now I'm starting to have, I'm starting to feel insecure about this. Okay. What is the pit lane speed at Talladega Super Speedway? Question mark. Now, most of these are 1997 or 98 stats. So here we go. So what was the pit lane speed at Talladega in 97 or 98? 55? 55. We're getting all 55s here. Answer, 65 miles per hour. Oh, there we go. This is good. We make these weekly. What 2 tracks did Ricky Rudd win in 97? It was Indianapolis, and was it Indy and Dover? I think I said that already. Yeah, I think it's Indy and Dover. I almost said Rockingham. Indy and Dover. Boom. Let's see. There we go. Oh, the final 500 mile race. See, there you go. That's a good statistic. I didn't even think about that. Are we? Okay, well, hang on. We might have a call here. We'll do some more of this, too. This is fun. We'll do some more of this. But we'll see here. Oh, here we go. From Steve O'Donnell himself. I assume this is correct. Steve O'Donnell, all clear. Enjoy the lobster, it says. Harvick should hurry up and eat that lobster just in case his car fails inspection. Somebody else played. So apparently we have a call, at least from Steve O'Donnell. Pockrass has retweeted it. So it looks like Kevin Harvick is officially your winner today in New Hampshire, and then he gets to take home the lobster. So good for him. And Daniel Hemrick is going to be your article this week for the NASCAR feature. And we'll see what the situation is. So let's refresh this. I think he just retweeted it. I'm going to go with that. I mean, if Steve O'Donnell says it, that's good enough for me. I'll tell you that. So Kevin Harvick, your winner today in New Hampshire, and a last place finish for Daniel Hemrick. We'll have that article later tonight on the number 8 car. Let's do a few more of these questions here, and we'll do that to kind of wrap up the show here. So congratulations to Kevin Harvick, and a Daniel Hemrick article is in your guys' future later tonight. So let's get our next question here from the Ricky Rudd that pulls no punches. What was the purse at the Daytona Beach course, oh my God, race in 1951? $5? What was the purse of the Daytona Beach Road Course in 1951? Don't go to Racing Reference. I don't know if it even shows it. 50K? Like, I'm going to say like 2,000. I mean, oh my God. Okay. All the votes in? $1,200. Well, that was an easy guess. It's close. Went over. Didn't pass the Price is Right rules. All right, let's try another one. What was the last race Davey Allison competed in? Oh, well, hey, I guess that one's easy. Well, we got that one. I think this thing's watching me. It's must be Google activated, so it's recording my thoughts. So the Slick 5300, this one right here. Slick 5300 from New Hampshire. Next. All right, let's see. Let's get a hard one. Come on. What is the pit lane speed at Charlotte Motor Speedway? Okay. What's the pit road speed at Charlotte in 1998 when you had these Tauruses rolling around? 45, you say, bad booking? 45? 55? It always seems like it ends with a 5. So, yeah, probably 55. That seems good. 55 miles per hour. There we go. Several winners. All right, next one. Who holds the longest active winning streak per season? The longest active winning streak per season. Well, I mean, Rudd had 16 in a row in 98. And I think that was the longest at the time because Rusty had 15. So, yeah, it probably would be Rudd, yeah. Ricky Rudd. There you go. Okay, so this was probably made after September then. So when he won that Martinsville race. Who is the only Rookie of the Year to finish as high as second place in the point standings? Oh, I think I know this one. This is James Hilton. Second, only rookie to finish as high as second in the point standings. That's got to be James Hilton. Okay, I'm persuading you guys on that. I should have let you guys guess. Rusty Wallace? That's not a bad guess. Oh, wait. Oh, is it finished as high as second in a race or second in the championship? Oh, no, there's a twist. Okay, if you think it's the championship, it's probably James Hilton. If you think it's a race, it probably is Rusty Wallace. Let's take a look. Here we go. James Hilton. Okay, in 1966. All right, it's a championship. Interesting. The question wasn't worded very well. Next one. What is the pit lane speed at the Atlanta Motor Speedway? Okay, pit road speed at Atlanta Motor Speedway in 1998. 55? Okay. 55? Probably 55 again. Not 65. 45? We got Fish Productions. Okay. 50 for Andrew? Answer, 55 miles per hour. You know, I have a Trivial Pursuit NASCAR thing that I've gone through too many times. I should bring that up too. Yeah, this might be a thing. What year did Ricky Rudd enter in Winston Cup racing? Okay, so I guess what year was Ricky Rudd's first Cup Series start? Year of Ricky Rudd's first Cup start. Don't look at Racing Reference. Just type in your guess. We have 75, 85, 75, 76. 75 sounds right. Let's see. 1975. We have several winners. There you go. All right. What is the diameter of the air cleaner? What's the diameter of the air cleaner? I assume in inches, I guess. 18 inches? 20, 22 inches? Any guesses on that? A diameter of the air cleaner in the car on top of lines of the wall. Or is that Dick Trickle? It's one or the other. 14 inch, 16 inch. Let's stick with 18. I'm going to try to go up. 16 inches. Answer, 16 inches. Right on. It's Todd? Okay, it's Todd. There we go. All right, let's get a few more of these here. Who was the car owner for Derek Cope when he won the Daytona 500? Who is Derek Cope's car owner when he won the Daytona 500? Bob Whitcomb. There you go. You got it, bad bookie. I know that for sure. Answer, Bob Whitcomb. There you go. True or false? Okay, here we go. True or false? Ricky Rudd won the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year in 1975. True or false? Ricky Rudd won Rookie of the Year in 1975. True? Okay, Fish Production says true. Anybody else? True. We know that he made his first start in 75. Did he win Rookie of the Year? That's the two parts of the question. Nope, we got false, we got true. All right, all votes in. Here we go. False. There we go. Wow, that's tricky. So this thing's too smart. I think this thing should be hosting the show. Spun in Atlanta 75. Oh, look at that. Cog Railroad in Mount Washington. That looks like fun. They still have that up there? Last bro get a kick out. He's a big railroad guy. This is great. Okay, let's get some more here. Who won 10 races in 93? Well, it was this season here. You got a pretty good clue in this race. Who won 10 races in 93? Glad you're liking this low-tech jellyfish. Rusty Wallace, you say. Rusty. Answer. It's got to be Rusty. Rusty it is. 10 races, but lost the championship. Mark Martin, yeah. Not quite Mark. Although Mark was good that year. What year did Ricky Rudd win the rookie? Oh, wait, no, this is the year again. Okay, I'm asking the same question again. We'll scrub that one. 75. Whoa, 77. Wait a minute. Hang on. It said 77. Okay, well, I stepped into that one. I thought it was, okay, he did his first start at 75. It shows how much I know. I thought I knew a lot about this guy, but this thing's showing me up. Okay. All right, here we go. Who are the husband and wife drivers in the Busch Series? Now, again, this is 97, 98. Who are the husband and wife duo in the Busch Series? Elton Sawyer and Patty Bowie. Pretty sure you're right, Bad Boy, but let's see. Any other guess? Patty and Elton? Yep. Patty and Elton Sawyer, Patty and Elton. Okay, we got this. Elton Sawyer and Patty Bowie. Patty having the throwback in 2017 we mentioned here. Let's see. Get a couple more here. How many races did Ricky Rudd start before he got his first win? How many races, how many cup races did Ricky Rudd start before he won his first race? Guesses. Again, don't look at the page. Just type in your number. Just type in numbers you want. 96, we got Ultimate Dragon. 34, 151. Got some more guesses here. Don't pull up Racing Reference. If you're waiting longer, I'm going to assume you're pulling it up. Okay, here we go. 54, 86, what we got? 161. Bad booking. You would win under the Price is Right rules. You're close. Yeah, 161. There you go. What is the minimum thickness of the rear spoiler? The minimum thickness. The minimum thickness of the rear spoiler. Okay, now again, this is back when the spoiler looked like this. So okay, so all right, minimum thickness of the rear spoiler in 1998 with the what was it, the 5 and 5 rule back then? Like the quarter of an inch, 3/16. Okay, any other guesses on the thickness of the rear spoiler? Half an inch, quarter of an inch. Okay, 5/16 of an inch. All the guesses in. All right, here we go. 0.125 inches thick. Okay, somebody has to be good at fractions. What is 0.125 in fraction form? If we did, that's 1/8, an eighth an inch? Okay. I'm just going to take your word for it on that. That's not my department. Okay, here we go. Let me confirm that. I'm sure you're right, but let me see. Boop. See, English major. Again, I struggled through all that math. Okay, 1 divided by 8. Yeah, you're right. 0.125. There you go. Okay. That was a hard one. That's a hard one. Okay. Next one. Who was the first driver to top 200 miles an hour in time trials? 200 miles an hour in time trials. Not 200 miles in testing, not 200 miles. There we got Buddy Baker. Think about it. In time trials, everyone. Time trials. Think about that. Bobby Isaac, Pearson, Parsons. Okay, we're getting a few more guesses here. Cale Yarborough. Okay. All right, let's see. What is the car thing? What is the car thing? Does it say Buddy or does it say Cale? It says Benny Parsons. Maserati 9. You got it, bud. Oop, I missed this one here. The Winston 500 at Talladega, I think it said. Okay, that one had a long answer. Well, there you go. That's a new one. See, that stumped me too. True or false? Aerodynamics is very important at Daytona International Breakfast Speedway. Okay. True. Yeah. Aerodynamics is really important at Daytona. I mean, you know, if we're talking like, you know, taping up the nose of the car versus anything. Yeah. True. Okay. Without a doubt. Yeah, it said Benny Parsons. I'm making sure I didn't misread that. It said that it was Benny Parsons, and it said it was at Talladega, and that was the first one in time trials. Yeah. So, again, this thing could always be wrong. I don't know if it is or not. I mean, the thickness of the spoiler thing is a new one on me. Got to go out and measure these ones at the track now with a 9-inch plexiglass thing, if that's still true. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here with this. We're going to do one more question here. We'll call it a night here. Unless it's a bad question. What year did Ricky Rudd, that was a good question, win his first race? What year did Ricky Rudd win his first race? Everyone, what year did Ricky Rudd win his first race? 83 says bad booking. 83. 84 says Ultimate 23 Dragon. 82 says Low Tech Jellyfish. We're all over the place. It was 1983. 83, everyone. Okay, actually, let's do one more. That one was a little too easy. I want a crazy one to end it, like the purse at the Beach Road Course race in 1951. That's just amazing to me. My God, this thing. True or false? Let's skip that one. Yeah. Oh, actually, this is pretty good. True or false? All drive shafts are painted white. Well, I think Alex Bowman knows the answer to that question. So there we go. Let's see. How many times did Fred Lorenzen win the most popular driver award? Oh, yeah. Now we're having fun. How many times did Fred Lorenzen, Fast Freddie Lorenzen, win most popular driver? Enter your guesses now. 4, 5, 3, 3. How many more we got? We got another 5. We got others here. Okay. This is the last one tonight, folks. Here, get your votes in. All right. For all the marbles. How many times? Twice in 1963 and 1965. Hey, how about that? That was pretty fun. Do you know some footage? 1973 Alamo popped up on YouTube. Was that the train thing? That was pretty hip. I don't know what that was. But anyway, we're going to call it good there. That was a lot of fun. We'll bring this thing back. I was going to leave this here, but I think I'm going to bring this back with me because this could be really interesting. That was cool. Yeah, more stuff like that because this is a good opportunity for that. Thank you again for tuning in. This was great. Everybody, stay tuned next week. We'll do Pocono, and we'll do some more trivia along the way, and I think that'd be a great way to pass the time here. So we'll do that, and thank you again, everyone, for following. Look ahead to both NASCAR Man's video on Lost TV broadcast, and also later this week for our Days of Thunder video. We're going to go public with that because I don't want to sit on that much longer, and enjoy that. Again, have a very safe and happy Sunday night. Congratulations to Kevin Harvick, and look forward to our articles later tonight. Take care.